Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Fitz Rupee Cast featuring Dawn of War 2 Retribution. We are on Quests Heresey today, looking at the nice center point of the map here where everything tends to come to a head. And we've got a nice mix-up between the Orcs and the Space Marines today. I know I had a matchup like this on this very map a few episodes ago, but I was told this match is a pretty good one. On the red side, we've got the NoleafClover, apparently the unluckiest of the clovers, in some nice Dark Angels DLC content there as our Space Marine Force Commander, and Don Qichoka, I don't know. Don Qichoka, I'm going to say, kind of like Don Quixote, the Errant Knight. We will have our Errant Knight of a Kommando knob in this game. So let's get it started here and see how this game treats us. Forgot to turn off the Fog of War there. We'll go ahead and do that. So everything looking pretty good. Of course, we've got our two natural victory points on the left here and the stray point way out here on the east side of the map. And looks like NoleafClover is prioritizing his victory points, which is curious. Normally you see Space Marines go for a wreck and power heavy kept order at the beginning here, but looks like NoleafClover is going to go ahead and start ticking away at some VPs. Meanwhile, NoleafClover has his, Don Qichoka has his Kommando knob sneaking up and around here. Gonna see if he can get some early harassing, as we normally see with the stealth heroes. Actually, looks like he's not going to harass, he's going to go right back and try to decap this power node. Hopefully NoleafClover pops the cap, but he does not. And very obnoxious, gonna cause NoleafClover some early power loss there. Meanwhile, we have some tanks taking some pepper shots at the Shooter Boys and the Force Commander engaging the Sluggers. So, looks like despite losing his power node, NoleafClover is going to be in some excellent position for map control right out of the gate here. Scouts are going to be able to cap this far left power node, and the tanks are going to harass his Kommando knob. It looks like he's going to go ahead and stealth and get out of trouble there for the time being anyways. You can see NoleafClover kind of searching for him, but not quite getting it, deciding to grab that victory point. And we have Shooter Boys of Don over here on the right side. Don's going to have a pretty nice power advantage right now, considering that NoleafClover has absolutely none, unfortunately. That was actually a really good play, and I feel like NoleafClover should have just sent those scouts back to recapture that power, because he's going to be a bit of a power disadvantage right now until he can do something about that. So it looks like this Force Commander's in a bit of trouble. He's going to have to get out of there. Choosing not to retreat, though. Getting hammered by those Sluggers a little bit. Oh no, he's going to be in a bit of trouble. Might get out of there. Oh no, the Sluggers do take him down, unfortunately. Very unfortunate that. And looks like Don's going to take advantage of taking out his hero and try to get all these couple wreck points that NoleafClover does have and take them out. NoleafClover's decided to go for a double tack build. Not necessarily a bad idea, especially considering he had no power, so he may as well use that wreck and get those second squads out there, and a sergeant on the scouts as well to hopefully help deal with this pesky Kommando knob for the rest of the game here. Don has gotten himself a squad of looters here, which I feel like are pretty good on this map. I pretty much love suppression on this map in general. This center point is really good, considering how many choke points there are on it. And they're generally good for setting up on these stray victory points in the distance. People tend to send squads to cap that, and on their own they'll probably fall into that suppression and have to retreat. So the looters should be good for some nice little ambushes here and there. And we'll see how that goes. Both players having fully upgraded power farms at this point in the game. These looters a bit far back, I feel like. You could probably move those up and maybe cloak them somewhere up in this general area behind the center cover. Kommando now trying to decap a wreck point, but getting forced off by some tacks in the meantime. And Shooter Boys set up with some knobs right now. Again, these Luda boys I feel like should be moved up a little more. Probably trying to use them defensively, which is generally a bit better for Luda boys. But really their key is to set them up as ambush, and against this double tack build right now, it would really be excellent for that. This is where he wants to let them loose. Unfortunately, they're not firing. Oh, there they go at the last second, but those shooter boys are in a bit of trouble already. They're pretty low. Slugga's coming in on the other side, and a grenade going off on the Ludas. Oh, taking out the lead member. And those Slugga boys are not going to want to go out there against 2 squads attacks right now. The Luda's helping a bit with those tactical marines, and Force Commander has the whole lot of them suppressed right now. But looks like they're... Oh, they de-set up for some reason, and they are going to have to get out of there. So NoleafClover doing pretty excellently right now, despite a bit of a rough start there. Not losing a single victory point yet, and now pretty far up on the power of Don right now. Both tax squads retreating against a wounded Slugga Boy squad. They probably could have easily won that fight. But now they're going to take a lot of unnecessary damage on retreat. These shooter boys were unupgraded, so they really wouldn't have helped too much with those Sluggas. So I think a bit of a judgment mistake on NoleafClover. The scout shotguns messing up those Slugga boys as they try to decap. And looks like those double shooter boys should be able to get them off the point. Luda's moving back up onto the field to add a little support, this time moving up a bit more forward. And since NoleafClover spent very little power outside of upgrading his scouts, he's going to be able to get to tier 2 relatively quickly behind Don Qichoka right there. So Kommando Knob taking back the VP on the far side, finally going to be able to start taking some of these VPs off of NoleafClover, who hasn't lost a single one yet. And an excellent ambush from the Luda boys, hammering those tacks. They do get in melee with the Force Commander, but they did force off one of the squads and haven't taken a loss themselves. Unfortunately, neither of these shooter boys upgraded with big shooters yet, so unable to suppress that Force Commander. I really would have gotten at least one squad of big shooters in conjunction with these Luda boys to keep that Force Commander at bay. But all in all, both players going to tier 2 now. And NoleafClover still having a bit of an advantage in the map, but losing that swiftly as Don sends his commando around and decaps the rest of his wreck. Meanwhile, Slugga Boy's knocking out this node and probably going to be able to capture that back in the meantime. And we'll see what tier 2 brings us. Force Commander getting the Power Fist right now. I would have definitely gone for the Thunder Hammer against Orc. The Power Fist would be great against, of course, an Orc Truck or perhaps a Death Dread, but Orcs players rarely get a Death Dread unless they're very ahead in tech, and as far as a Orc Truck goes, he has 2 squads of Tactical Marines. Really, 1 missile launcher is all you need to deal with the truck, especially if you have the Force Commander dealing with any kind of melee that's on the field. So Don bringing on a Weird Boy, which will be excellent against the double Tactical Marine build that NoleafClover is currently using. And combined with the Luda Boy's suppression, I think that'll be pretty much able to deal with what NoleafClover has on the field right now in general. So again, right now, with if the Force Commander was bearing the Thunder Hammer against all this Orc infantry, he would really be able to cause some severe damage. But of course, the Power Fist is very strong as well, but just not quite the ideal solution right now. So Plasma Devastator coming onto the field right now. NoleafClover's been doing a good job of sending his Tactical Marines and Scouts around and trying to recapture the map for himself here. But the Weird Boy is going to be able to deal with these attacks pretty easily. The combined disruption of the Weird Boy and this Luda Boy squad going to be able to deal with the double attacks pretty well. I've never been a fan of double attacks myself. They're pretty solid DPS and can take a beating, but really no utility in them. They kind of just shoot and hurt things. Whereas I feel like a double scout build would be able to deal with some of the orky shenanigans a bit better. But we'll see how that turns out for him. The weird boy moving in on these plasma devs and taking a quick shot and knocking them over. Oh, and the Force Commander's Power Fist taking a nice chunk with each swing off of that weird boy. But the Luda's perfect support there for the weird boy, keeping the Force Commander away. And Kommando's getting called onto the field as well. Oh, and the Plasma Dev knocking down the Luda boys. And it looks like a burner bomb's gonna go out. Oh, but the Commandos do take a pretty nasty shot from that Plasma Dev in response to that. Love the Daka knocking them over repeatedly. And the weird boy trying to get a shot or two off before they get off the field. So the double attacks are now moving in on the weird boy and the Kommando knob. Trying to keep moving and not fall under the constant knockback of his basic attack, but they are getting hammered. They're going to need to get out of there. NoleafClover, in the meantime, is floating a crazy amount of resource. He mentioned, I think, earlier in the game here that this is one of his first games back, so maybe his macro is just a little off, but he could really benefit to bring something else onto the field. Some Assault Marines I feel like would be excellent even at this point in the game to deal with this weird boy and the Luda boys. Oh, and that Force Commander's Power Fist just smashed the Kommando knob and did quite a number on the weird boy as well. The Force Commander, despite all his resources, not upgraded with any armor or accessory. Alacrity armor right there probably would have netted him the kill on that weird boy, but unfortunately the lack of war gear did let him escape. So looks like NoleafClover did decide to go to tier 3, as is Don. So we'll be moving into tier 3 here shortly, but again, NoleafClover just having a crazy amount of resource right now. Probably could have brought at least some sort of tier 2 something onto the field, other than that Plasma Dev, to help him hold this map a little better. He's doing a reasonable job right now, has the VP advantage, so I guess he's going to try to take that into tier 3 and seal the deal. A pretty nice looking grenade, hitting some of those knobs, but, Commandos. And the scout's going to have to get out of there. Unfortunately, these tactical marines are under a lot of fire. Looks like NoleafClover wasn't paying attention, and they do go down. Quite a big loss for NoleafClover. Probably wasn't necessary at all either. I think they were just taking a lot of fire from these two shooter boys. And retreated a bit too late. So Luda's going to go ahead and take this point back on the bottom. And Don trying to get some map back and smash some power while he's at it. NoleafClover immediately getting a Predator as he moves into tier 3. Pretty good choice, as Don is probably going to grab himself some knobs or a tank of his own at this point. But NoleafClover is really going to have to make sure he uses those scouts to stay with that tank and keep it repaired, as the Kommando knob can get himself a rocket launcher. There's a weird boy on the field, and the Commandos themselves can get a rocket launcher as well. And of course, there's always hide the boys and all those shenanigans, so you really got to keep an eye on that Predator. It's a big investment.
Good fight. We've been spotted, and they shooting.
So these Slugger boys still not getting themselves the knob yet. Looks like Don is waiting to build himself something big here. Meanwhile, the burner bomb's gone down on these Plasma Devastators. Looks like the Slugger boys are trying to get a flank in and get a retreat kill or two, while the Commander is hounding down on them. Does snag one and get a nice sync kill on retreat. But that Plasma Dev was holding this point and managed to keep Don from taking it. Meanwhile, the Predator comes onto the field. Looks like it's going to start dealing with these shooter boys and getting them off the DP over here. Oh, and 2 drop on the first shot. There goes another, and both of those squads are going to have to get out of there pretty quickly. So So here comes the Nob squad. That'll certainly even things out here. Despite having a pretty much smaller force, NoleafClover's been doing a pretty good job of keeping the VPs in his favor. Don has caught up, but there's still about a 150-point gap right now in the favor of NoleafClover. Oh, there's the Weird Boy knocking that Force Commander off of that point at the last second. He was about to capture it, but the Weird Boy did not agree with that. And all is quiet in the center right now as the Orcs start to move back up. Nob's coming onto the field with two Shooter Boys, getting some heals on right now. But that Weird Boy's going to be in a bit of trouble right here. He's going to need to get out of there. Oh, nice shot by the Plasma Dead, hitting dead on. Oh, and there's the HUD Boys on the Nobs. And the Commandos also flanking in, waiting for their Nob to teleport in right here. And there goes the rocket launcher, taking a shot at that tank. Daka's, love the Daka going down on that Plasma Death, preventing it from firing. And there go the Nobs, hammering away that tank with their chain axes. And that's going to be it for that Predator. Unfortunately, a short-lived deployment for that tank. And possibly for this Plasma-heavy Devastator as well. One more swing, it's down to 3 HP, but it looks like it's just barely going to get away. Wog being fired a bit too late, unfortunately. And Assault Terminators coming on the field for NoleafClover. That's what he was spending all his, waiting to save up all that resource for, I guess, was for that Predator and the Terminators, of course. But, unfortunately, losing that tank to some very sneaky Nobs. Nobs already upgraded with their hammers. Assault Terminators getting the Lightning Claw upgrade, so they'll probably be able to deal with those Nobs right now. Work. Looks like the Force Commander's still not getting upgraded with any war gear right now. And the Weird Boy, combined with his two squads of Shooter Boys, forcing those scouts away from the middle here. Oh, an excellent shotgun blast, knocking those Nobs right back into the Terminators. They do manage to take out a Nob, but they managed to get out of there without too much other loss. Terminators moving on in on the Shooter Boys. A nice stun with the Warp Vomit, and they're going to have to get out of there. Meanwhile, the Commando's hanging out. Kommando Nob does just get purchased back right here. And Assault Terminators just kind of hanging out in the middle, waiting for something to fight. Force Commander dealing with these Slugger Boys, still not quite having the resource to get a Nob on them, as he's been prioritizing some other upgrades and Tier 3 units in the meantime. So, Force Commander's going to make short work of them. But Don's been doing a pretty good job of minimizing his losses, all things considered. Despite being on the VP disadvantage, he has a very nice Orky force here between all that he has on the field. He should have all the tools he needs to deal with these Assault Terminators when it comes down to it. Especially as they're sitting out here right now with very little support.
I think this is important.
So Don really needs to get on these VPs right now, though. He's at a disadvantage pretty well on the VPs, and needs to bring it back to his favor. The Tactical Marines do get forced off, but the Scouts are out of the firing arc of that. Oh, I would have used that grenade on the Luda Boys probably instead of that Shooter Boy squad, but now those Assault Terminators are moving right in on it anyways. A nice looking stun grenade, that's exactly what he needs to do between the Weird Boys Warp Vomit and the Kommando Nob stun grenade. And a Burner Bomb just causing all sort of damage to that squad of Assault Terminators. Not quite managing to take out any members yet, but oh, and a Librarian has come onto the field to support these Terminators. Looks like he's got himself his Psychic Hood, which gives him the Gate of Infinity, which of course will teleport any Space Marine squad within a pretty sizable range to his location. So definitely useful for keeping those Terminators alive between that and, of course, the Veil of Time ability, which he may also have at this point. NoleafClover keeping this Plasma Dev out here on the far right side to prevent the decapping of this victory point. These knobs are going to move in, though. Unfortunately, I don't think the Plasma Dev will be able to deal with that. Librarian gets forced off by a big Orky horde here. And meanwhile, looks like NoleafClover holding on to quite a bit of resource once again. I would have upgraded Sergeant on these attacks at this point, but perhaps he's waiting for something a little bigger, a little better. Assault Terminators coming out at about half HP again, so hopefully Don will be able to deal with those. Oh, and the Plasma Dev did go down to these knobs. NoleafClover wasn't quite paying attention to that. Fudas do get set up. You would think that the Force Commander would get a teleport attack or something at this point to help deal with that. But looks like he's just going to lumber these Assault Terminators right on in and force them out anyways.
That's the best you can do!
So, all in all, still looking like Don Qichoka with a bigger force, but not quite being able to take the map away from those Terminators right now. With the support of the Librarian there. Sitting pretty high and dry. It looks like they're going to go ahead back to base and heal right now. Oh, nice scout grenade on those knobs, but not going to be able to prevent the cap in the end. And they're going to have to go ahead and fall back. Meanwhile, a lot of range fire on that Librarian. He drops a quick smite and falls back. Meanwhile, NoleafClover's doing his best to keep the victory points in his favor. You know, with only 115 VPs left for Don. Noleaf can keep harassing these VPs. He'll be able to do a pretty good job and probably be able to close out the match here. Again, though, NoleafClover just floating all kinds of requisition and power here. I don't know what he's waiting on at this point. He could buy pretty much anything he wants. And he really does need something to keep this map in his control. There is something to be said about waiting sometimes to build up some of that resource and build a counter to whatever your opponent builds, but when you're this far behind as far as the amount of army you have on the field, you really need to bring something. Anyways, as I was saying that, he decided to get himself a Landraider Redeemer. So that'll provide him a nice forward base for his squads to constantly stay on the field. The Assault Terminators got a nice little heal back home, and they're coming out at a pretty nice chunk of HP now. Scouts and Tacks pushing these shooter boys off of the point, and it looks like the Kommando now's gotten himself a rocket launcher in the meantime. And you can see, with the support of the Weird Boy and the stun bomb of the Kommando knob, if you fired those off a bit too close together, I think you probably could have stretched that stun out a little bit longer. Really doing a good job of keeping these Assault Terminators at bay.
Me shoot is ready, boss! Me shoot is ready, boss! With cunning and dead killing. Look who captured your victory!
So I still think it's anyone's game at this point. These Slugger boys not having a knob yet, I think that's going to cost them. I don't think they'll be able to beat these level 3 attacks right now. Especially with only 4 models going into the melee battle. He really needs to get a knob on them at this point in the game so they can try to deal with these lone attacks when they're sitting out without any support of their own.
Can't you see I got cover?
So Don really needs to figure out an answer to these Assault Terminators, and once he does that, he's been doing a good job right now so far of using the Warp Vomit and the Stun Grenade to keep these under control, and this will probably be an engagement that he can win right here with these knobs fully upgraded. Oh, an Infinity Gate does get them a nice little escape right there, right as the Warp Vomit comes down and the knobs had engaged them in melee. Excellent play, keeping those Assault Terminators in the game for NoleafClover.
Locked and loaded, boss! Dead killing. We've taken
So here comes the Landraider coming onto the field. This will probably be a pretty definitive push for NoleafClover, I feel, depending on how this gets played right now. Don does have quite a bit of AV though, but with the Assault Terminators pushing the front line, he just doesn't have anything to deal with this. Rocks is getting dropped, but I think that was just a bit of a bad spot for it. The Terminators are out of position. It does hammer the Force Commander pretty bad, and does some pretty reasonable damage to that Landraider to get things started on that. So, not much of a impact on that Rocks, but it did a little bit of damage to the current squads that are on the field. So the Landraider's just sitting there getting shot at by the 2 rocket launchers, the Commandos and the Commando Knob here. The Assault Terminators are moving in now. Those Commandos need to get out of there, taking a lot of hurt. Oh, the Knob goes down and only 1 member escapes. Meanwhile, that Landraider's looking pretty beat up. NoleafClover does have to pull that back if he wants that to survive here. That Commando Knob's just been hammering it for the last 30 seconds or so with his rocket launcher. NoleafClover still doing a pretty good job of keeping those VPs from ticking down too bad, and trying to tick those off of that last 100 points of Don. Those scouts really need to get up here and do something with that Landraider. Again, unfortunately, NoleafClover's just sitting on piles and piles of wreck position. He doesn't have too much power, but he could certainly build that up if he wanted to with all the wreck he's got, or bring another tac squad, or really anything at this point onto the field. Those Assault Terminators are very low for sitting on the front line, as they are losing even 1 member of those. It's very expensive to reinforce. I would have pulled those back. Oh, there goes the first. Finally being able to take out one of those members. Another warp bomb that's stunning those Terminators, and it looks like they're going to go down, unfortunately. I'm not sure why the Librarian, maybe his Gate of Infinity was on cooldown. That is a big loss for NoleafClover. And I'm not sure if... Oh, another stun bomb going down on the second squad of Terminators that just got pulled in. Oh, but the Landraider is still doing a pretty good number with its assault cannon on these squishy infantry squads. Oh, but the Knobs, meanwhile, look like they took out the second squad of Tactical Marines and are probably going to be able to take out this Landraider unless NoleafClover can do something about that, unfortunately. They are taking quite a bit of damage, but I don't think that Landraider is going to survive. Yep, especially with the Commando Knob now also firing into the rear of that Landraider. These knobs are very low. Oh, they do go down to the Terminators and the Librarians, so Don did manage to take out that Landraider and the Assault Terminators, but it cost him his squad of knobs. Ultimately worth it in the end. This Librarian also needs to get out of there. It's taking some fire from these shooter boys that are back behind NoleafClover's lines. Down to 20 HP. It looks like he's going to escape behind this wall. I'm not sure if these shooter boys are going to be able to get in on him on time. Down to 10, 12 HP. 3, 2, 1. Oh, and there he goes. Just barely with the last few shots, those shooter boys take him out. NoleafClover just having nothing on the field except a squad of Terminators right now, and his hero really not looking too good for him. I'm not sure if he's just feeling defeated right now and isn't buying any squads, but I mean, he could bring some tax on the field or anything at this point and just try to bring this back. Don's really turned this around, now bringing a looted tank onto the field, which will help deal with those ranged Terminators pretty well. But ultimately, just some poor play here by NoleafClover is costing him here at the end of the game. Just constant wreck float. Really needs to just use those resources and bring something onto the field. Oh, this could be an unfortunate end for NoleafClover's scouts are now in peril. And just with nothing to control the map on the field, except for these Terminators, which of course are a nice force on their own right, but not going to be able to be everywhere and hold these VPs. So it looks like Dom's finally going to be able to capture some VPs again and start ticking away. He's down under 100 VPs himself, but he's got a nice army. You can just look at the bottom bar here and see that this is pretty much in his favor. NoleafClover, I don't know if he's just trying to wait for some power to bring something bigger onto the field. He finally did build back that power farm. But this Force Commander, oh, he does fall, unfortunately. He does have the Sacred Standard, so if his Terminators get within range of that buff, they'll be doing some pretty nice damage. But they're not going to be able to hold up against this tank, Commandos, and the Weird Boy right now. Just taking lots of unnecessary damage. They are stunned, but they just need to teleport the heck out of there. Oh, that is not where they need to go. They're not going to be able to deal with that tank on their own. That can just kite them around if it chooses to. And looks like these Terminators are just going to be out of luck. That's the second squad of Terminators and a Landraider that's gone down for NoleafClover. Don's just done an excellent job of going ahead and turning this around. He did lose his Commando knob to the scouts up top, but ultimately, in the great scheme of things, after all NoleafClover's lost, that's not going to be a big deal. I think that's going to be it for NoleafClover. He's kind of just floating all kinds of resources, as he's been doing throughout the game, unfortunately. Probably could have won this game if he just would have brought some more stuff onto the field. I know earlier on he was waiting for some resource to get to Tier 3 and bring those Terminators and Landraider onto the field, but he kind of foolishly squandered them throughout the last couple engagements, and pretty much gave the game to Don. It's still possible for him to come back, but he'd need to build something, and it doesn't look like he's going to do that. So the Force Commander just moving on in, finally grabbing himself a teleporter pack. Still hasn't gotten some armor or anything like that. The Commando knob, meanwhile, has stayed vanilla the entire time throughout this match. Really using that stun bomb to great effect on those Terminator squads. You can see he tried to do the teleport flesh over steel, but didn't quite manage to get the hit off. That's actually pretty difficult to do, considering the long windup of flesh or steel on a tank. So he's fallen back. The triple cap is in Don's favor now, and that looks like that's probably going to be the game. NoleafClover finally builds himself a squad of tactical marines, but looks like we're just going to be seeing the VPs tick down here at the end. But I'd like to comment. I definitely like to comment on Don's excellent use of the combination of the Rear Boy Warp Vomit and his stun bomb on his Commando knob, really just keeping those squads of Terminators at bay throughout the game. You can see a little skirmish going on between the scouts and the Shooter Boys here. That Shooter Boy knob is going to seal the deal, though, if would have won that melee battle if it had come down to it. Nice shot by the Weird Boy, knocking those scouts over. And down to just 60 points. That's going to take not much time at all at this point for this to take down. NoleafClover, I think, just going ahead and deciding the match is lost. But curious that he did buy this last squad attacks at the last minute of the game. That's going to be too little too late. The burn a bomb dock, love the Daka going down on those tactical marines. Always love seeing that. And the Force Commander just trying to harass whatever he can at the end here. But that looks like it's gonna be the game. So pretty cool match. Was looking pretty good for NoleafClover there at the beginning. But as I've been saying,